Hello and welcome to the Back to the Feature podcast, the show where we talk about movies past, present, and future. I'm Giovanni Carlo, and I'm of course always joined by my friend John Vandaloo. And today we have a special guest. We found our friend with the most Star Wars sounding name that we possibly could. Now, Mr. Nelson Holo is sitting in with us today to talk about The Last Jedi. Originally we were going to do a normal video for this where we were just going to do our review, no spoilers, keep it short. But this is such a divisive movie, and even in my own mind it has moments where I am torn, and there's so much to talk about, there's so much to unpack. So we thought that the best thing to do would be sit down and do an entire podcast and just have a big open discussion. So I'm saying it right now, spoilers. Spoilers. Hyundai's level spoilers. So if you have not seen The Last Jedi, one, who are you? That you haven't gone and seen this at least multiple times by now. But if you haven't seen The Last Jedi, get the hell out of here. Just get out of here right now. We're going to be talking about things that will ruin your experience. Spoilers ahead.
Well, should we give them our thoughts before spoilers, just overall?
Yes, yeah. That's exactly where I wanted to start. So guys, what is just your general, feeling of The Last Jedi? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Is it, hey, it's better than the prequels? John?
I enjoyed it. Definitely better than the prequels. I think this movie warrants a few more rewatches, though, before I really decide to settle it in my ranking in the saga. But it's a movie that I walked out of. I saw the impressive things that Rian Johnson had to offer this universe. And honestly, I don't know, things that happen with the characters, man, I felt very split on. I don't know what to think right now. But I knew that somewhere deep inside me, I really did enjoy this movie a lot, but I needed a rewatch. It's funny when we got together on the day to do our review, it's like, yeah, I'm not ready for this yet. I want to watch it again a few more times, and then sit down, a week later and give real thoughts. Mm. But even still now in my brain, it's not quite settled in there yet. I want to see it a few more times yet before I feel comfortable.
Yeah, kind of giving it the final verdict.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how this movie ages.
It will be. Especially with, obviously all the banter back and forth on the internet now with, The Empire Strikes Back wasn't received very well.
Well, yeah, that's just true, though. Shining wasn't well received when it came out.
I think it's gonna be a really hotly debated movie for a while. I think the last movie we had like that is like Batman v Superman. I think it's gonna be like that, where we're gonna be like a year or more out and people are still gonna be arguing about the movie's merits and the movie's fault.
This is definitely, though, you could compare it in that way just because the fan base. Well, I'm assuming that DC has the same size of fan base as Star Wars would.
It's
got to be close.
It's got to be.
But BVS was definitely more on the down.
Oh yeah,
side
totally.
of it,
I think it's going to be the longevity that the argument is going to have. It's going to be something that I think nerds are consistently going to go to battle over.
And honestly, I think that you're just touching on that. It is a better movie than a lot of typically divisive movies. Mm-hmm. I think that the main issue that people have with it that are on the side that this movie's trash is the choices they made to go with the story, with the characters. Not that the things put into the film in its own objective merit isn't good.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are very much in shock by the movie and the things that it chooses to do. So then, Nelson, what were your overall thoughts, though, of The Last Jedi? What did you think of it?
Oh, I loved it. I've seen it. I just saw it for the third time, about an hour ago, and I really loved it a lot. But it's got problems. The main things are it's a little overstuffed with the plot. There's some messy editing in there. I'll probably bring that up more later, but I would say that overall, Force Awakens is technically a better movie, but I personally enjoyed this one more. Mm-hmm. I thought it was more engaging and more interesting and more unique. Like I said to you, it's kind of like the difference between Alien and Prometheus. It's like Alien is a better movie, but I'm more interested in Prometheus. I think there's more ideas going on.
That's another divisive film.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Holy crap!
I'm on the same side. I'm on the same side as you with Prometheus. I was a fan. I am a fan of that.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. I like Alien more, but I would say I'm more interested thinking. I'm more interested thinking about Prometheus.
You know, and the thing is, though, is that, like, Prometheus does have a lot of flaws, though, but at the same time, it's so crazy that, like, the movies that we're bringing up and comparing Last Jedi to and how people are talking about it, I'm sorry, that the Last Jedi is, like, head and shoulders above both of these films that we mentioned so far.
Yeah.
Which is just so kind of crazy by just, like, I think the level of the choices that were made and the shocks. And and then, too, I think that, like, just so much of it is this kind of dour, desperate fight. I mean, the movie opens up with, Poe going up against the Dreadnought and losing all these bombers. And I mean, we can argue about the gravity in space.
Oh, that can so be explained away.
No, they've already said it's magnets. They already said that it's like a magnet.
Or something gets shot, like something behind them pushes them out.
Physics. Like, science is never science fiction.
They want more realism
fantasy.
in their space wizard movie. It's fine.
This is science fiction fantasy.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry, but there's not like the explosions, the sound in space.
Yeah,
I mean, like Star Wars has lots of space flaws in it.
I will say though, I will say I'm shocked because everyone, well, not everyone, but like that's one of the things that people are bringing up now is the
bombs,
dropping the bombs. And it's like, you can explain that pretty easily. They don't explicitly show why they would be dropping, but you can explain it.
Well, they're inside the force shield.
Well,
yeah,
he has
to boost in underneath it, so maybe that's where the...
Yeah, there's a number of ways. There's a number of ways you can explain it.
Yeah.
But the one that I'm surprised I feel like no one's brought up, and this one is kind of like really just nonsense, is the artillery style fire that those guns have.
Oh yeah, they've got an arc.
I have read that too. Yep.
Yeah, like I haven't seen that yet. I see more people bring up the bombs dropping. It's like you can explain the bombs. I mean, this is all just nitpicks, but it's still like I'm surprised more people aren't bringing up that because that is just
I do have to ask these people if they know that the Force isn't real too, just so they know.
Yeah, we gotta.
But
you can't lift rocks with your mind.
You can't do it.
I'm sure there's some monks out in Tibet somewhere that can, but
I haven't.
Typically, yeah, that's not a commonplace thing. But no, I think already from the opening though, it's such a gorgeous movie though. Like
gorgeous movie.
The X-wing, just the fight. I mean, it's a small fight in a way, but him taking out those the different turrets, and of course the reflection over like his face shield on his helmet, like just the way that movie looks. And honestly, guys, I'm a huge like Poe Dameron fan. To me, he's like all of like everything that's awesome about Han and everything that's awesome about like Starfighter Ace Luke. You know what I mean? Like his skills outside of being like a Jedi. So it's like we kind of have like the best of both worlds that are going on with Poe, and so I'm so glad they didn't kill him in Force Awakens. I'm so glad they didn't kill him.
Well, you take the mix of those, but then you add in that flavor of Rebels. Just, like you add in that flavor of Soldier,
and then
that's
Oscar
different.
Isaac.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say
superior.
He's Oscar Isaac. I mean, Poe's a great character, but. He brings that to life in such a wonderful way.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac is an amazing actor, and the fact that this is just a side character, Well, I mean, he's very groomed for even a bigger role.
They you can definitely tell that they knew that they were going to keep him in this movie, and that he's going to have a future of some sort.
It's crazy that he almost wasn't written.
Yeah, because I think when you watch Force Awakens, you can kind of tell that maybe he was supposed to die in that.
Yeah.
It's like he said he got thrown from the rest. Like, how fucking far did you get thrown, dude? You know what I mean? And Finn didn't see it anywhere.
Exactly.
As he walked all the way to fucking.
Is that a plot hole?
Well, I don't think so.
No, but it's inconvenient for the convenience of the plot.
You can tell that they filmed that scene before they decided that they were going to keep Poe.
Exactly.
And where the plot here, I love Poe's arc in this film.
Yeah, I do too.
It is one of my favorite arcs in the film because it's not just turning the conventions of Star Wars, which this movie does a bunch. It's like the name of the game in this movie is turning things in Star Wars on its ear, but it also messes with conventions and just film in general. Because in every other film, Poe is right. Poe is right, and everybody's got to fucking Holdo at the end of the movie had to apologize to him, and I didn't trust you before, but apparently we just needed a little more hothead, Flyboy. Maybe a Flyboy is exactly what we needed. She comes back and
trigger happy Flyboy.
Exactly. So it's funny because we have a little moment when Leia's just permission to get in X-wing go blow something up. There's a little bit there, but for the most part, this movie really subverts that trope that we see as far as those kind of arcs in a film. I really enjoyed that a lot.
I just wanted to go back to the beginning here, just like the opening.
Yeah.
You get the Lucasfilms logo and Star Wars comes on, you get to crawl.
Mm-hmm.
The experience then of that battle, that's one of the greatest. That's one of the greatest openings to
Any of the Star Wars
films. I think. Well, I mean, it's exhilarating.
Yeah.
It's exhilarating. It looks better than anything we've ever seen before in those regards. So just from like popcorn level and just excitement to the eyeballs, I think it was one of the most exciting openings. And being in IMAX too, seeing it.
Oh yeah.
And having that drop in.
Yes,
Yeah,
I was just gonna start
that drop. That was a very cool turning the camera from the crawl down to
and just keep it
seeing
moving.
the planet and just float
The
downwards.
IMAX 3D was very natural, and I think that it was really in scenes like that it shined. I thought that where it didn't feel like it was like kind of pressing on you. You know what I mean? Just
It's
really
like you're
natural.
falling into it.
Exactly, like your eyes just kind of caught it right. I thought the whole movie in general looked so good.
I didn't
in that formatting.
I didn't see it in 3D, but I knew because I went early in the morning, so it was only 2D. But I know that I remember thinking like when that shot came up and it's just zooming down past those ships, I was like, I bet that would have looked great.
Yeah, it was.
Everything worked. There was no bad like use of the 3D. I thought it all looked really good.
Well, that's good.
And I don't like 3D typically, so
Yeah. I only go to 3D if it's like you're going to IMAX and it's kind of you don't really have an option unless you go really early in the day.
IMAX in general was a great time. It was great to see these kind of films.
I think the only Blade Runner 2049 was the only one in a long time where I opted out of 3D and just enjoy the 2D versions of it.
Oh my!
Out of just pure respect.
Well, that would
for
have
Roger
been that would have
Deakins.
definitely been a post conversion 3D, and it
Yeah.
would have been nothing. But no, the opening scene, I would definitely say because that's one thing about this movie that like I would call it a very unique opening because it. All 3 times that I've watched it, the opening, it's just kind of odd to me. And I don't know exactly how to word it quite yet. But it is kind of like lots of people are bringing up like tonal inconsistency with this movie. I don't think it's nearly as bad as like a Marvel movie can be at times. I think some people are overreacting. But I think the opening is a little weird because it opens up with, it's supposed to get you into the mood. It's supposed to be fun.
You get the General Hux.
General Hugs.
Yeah.
General Hugs. And it's like a Yo Mama joke. And I've seen a lot of people complaining about that, but it's like, yeah, that's a little weird for Star Wars, but it's totally imposed character.
Yeah, we've seen him do it before. I didn't feel like it was like really
it wasn't
weird.
out. It was weird in context with the franchise, but that's just because we haven't seen a joke like that before. But it's totally in his character.
I mean, and these are a new generation of people. You know what I mean? So they're not going to act the exact same as Han, Luke, and Leia. I would hope that some of those things would change. And not to mention, I just love that Oscar Isaac and Donald Gleason are playing off of each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Lex Machina reunion.
I will
it's
say
kind of over the phone.
I will say this too in a lot of memes, saying like grown men like complaining about kids movies.
Yeah.
It's just kind of that common phrase you shoot back. But I mean it is a kids movie. I mean these are like
they're not for everybody.
These are for everybody.
Kids.
They're family movies.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but like 1977, children. It's different now. Let's just say that.
Well,
let's just say that.
And there's a lot of fart jokes in Jedi, so let's not get too fucking uppity, huh?
Oh my god. No, the opening though, I think it's just such a weird opening for me. Not really in a bad way. It's just it's so different from any opening that we've seen in the movie because you got your humor. It starts out with humor for the most part, and it moves on to kind of one of the big themes of the movie, or not really themes, it's kind of one of the, I don't know, like a hallmark of the movie is the resistance is losing.
Yeah.
Like they've
got nothing left.
They got nothing left. They're just getting torn to shreds. And then there was like the whole sequence with Rose's sister getting the detonator.
Yeah.
And like she falls and it cuts, and that's straight out of Looper. I think that's a Ryan Johnson thing. Is someone falls, it cuts to black, and then it shows them waking up a few seconds later. And I just thought that was very weird editing in a Star Wars movie. It's not bad, like that, and I think that's a lot why people are reacting because it's not just the storytelling that is unconventional for Star Wars in this movie. It's just the film itself, the way it's made, the way it's edited. There's a lot more hard edits in this than the swipes.
Actually,
that's very true.
Yeah,
and it gives it a different feel, but not in a bad way out
Just
most of the
But
time.
it is a different
It's
feel.
different.
subtle. I think
Yeah.
there's some other things too we'll talk about. There's a little subtle things that are different or missing in this movie. I think that's where like fans are like they're just like, I don't like it. I don't know what it is. Cause I've heard that from like a lot of like my friends that I've talked about, where they're like the ones who didn't like it as much. They're like, it was good, but I just didn't like it as
something
much.
off.
There's just
Yeah.
something missing, and I think that there's a few of those things.
I think talking about the hard edits though too, and then speaking of the opening battle, I love the dreadnought, like the military leaders inside, and like how the actual battle took place from both sides. Yeah. I thought that was it reminded me of Rogue One and how Rogue One was like more military style, and I love more of that incorporation into this universe. I just thought that was exhilarating. Just kind of see like the back and forth between the military leaders. And this movie has a lot of that stuff going on, so like obviously you're gonna have to use different edits during those things.
Yeah.
Bring more intensity to the scenes.
Well, and this is the Star Wars movie that I would say has the most going on in it, and story-wise, like it has the most moving parts.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like doing a more traditional editing style rather than the Star Wars the swipe edit constantly. You just kind of can't do it with the way this story works. And even then, it's still kind of flawed, but it's like, imagine what it would be if they did try to do it more traditionally. Just the pacing would be so weird sometimes.
Yeah, really weird.
Because there's just lots of scenes that like are happening at the same time, and it's like, imagine having to do the swipe each time, but it's all happening.
That's one of those aesthetic things that I like in Star Wars. I like that in my Star Wars, the swipes, but at the same time, I think it's one of those things that I really don't like in almost any other movie. Like I feel like I give Star Wars a pass on it. Yeah. So for me, it not being there did not bother me at all.
No, I noticed it, and these these are just things that we're noticing. It's not even like, I don't even know if it's like, worth a credit or a discredit, but it is something I would say worth bringing up and just kind of trying to explain how this movie feels different than most.
No, I definitely want to string a lot of these little subtle things together. Of just like the things that were different. That I think that maybe not everybody's 100% thinking about, that they didn't quite get, and might be why they feel a little not as satisfied as they thought. But of course, this movie is like the worst suffering of like fan expectation I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, at least in a long time. Yeah. At least in my lifetime, maybe. I don't know about before that.
I mean, obviously, Star Wars, there's so much build up, especially for a saga film.
Especially once Disney took over too.
What about the prequels though? I mean, really, are we gonna push those aside? Because those are pretty big disappointments too. I think those became more disappointing to people.
Well, because like when the prequels came out, we were all young kids. Yeah. So like when I really loved the prequels when they were coming out, but that was just because I just wanted to see lightsabers and the most fundamental
lightsabers.
Yeah, just the most fundamental like selling points of Star Wars.
That's what like 300 Jedi on a green, with green screen. Because 12-year-olds are gonna love that.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the only interesting parts of that.
Well, they did put the Natalie Portman in a belly shirt.
I think what's really interesting, and we have to give Rian Johnson credit, and I wish that the people that didn't like this movie could at least acknowledge that, is that this film did so much and still kept it together pretty damn well
for the most part. Yeah.
Not only did he have to tie up a lot of loose ends and do some things with characters that, I'm sorry, you didn't like how Luke's story arc ended, but it's damn, this guy had to come in as a fan and write something unique, something fresh, and I wasn't completely on that train until my second viewing, but I'm just saying, all these things, it's a lot of weight to be put onto a writer as a fan.
And to think, though, that the idea that, Rian Johnson writes this, and that, there's teams of people that didn't also approve the story.
Exactly.
And then people chalk that up to, it's Disney's fucking fault. But I'm sorry, Luke's story is very un-Disney in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think that they really did want to try something bold, and a lot of people are just... It's pushing against there's something about a character like Luke Skywalker that feeds ego, I think, and that there's that thing of just you need this character. For some people, that character needs to be impeccable constantly. They cannot have any flaws whatsoever because it like damages them somehow too.
Yeah.
Because they've idolized them to that level. But I think that it's something that it's just like, so when you have a character that has this interesting growth and these changes that have happened since he was 20 years old, there's going to be this huge pushback.
I love that you say that like you say it, because that kind of just shows a little bit of that meta and self-awareness that's also in the film.
The movie is
and the foreshadowing of his character being the legend. It's very cool. And then the redemption. Yeah. So it's just like the things that I don't know if the end is what people disliked. I guess I haven't really read too much. It's all over the place.
It's all over.
Oh, it's funny. I mean, Luke pretty much says in the movie that what you want is stupid. If that's what you wanted, like, he pretty much tells you
the
that
movie
before
is
it even happens.
In legitimate like canon like Jedi type conversations,
like
especially that scene with Yoda too.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's the movie is like the part of the reason I love this movie, even though I think Force Awakens is better. I would say I love this movie more than Force Awakens is because there's lots of themes that have so many different layers to them, and like being self-aware and being meta of just where this franchise is going is one of them. You know, just like about like, I mean, there's the theme of letting the past die. Like, that's great for the characters, but that's also just meta. That's like, get over nostalgia and like what you're expecting, and just I mean, that, you know, you don't like, not everything new is good. I mean, I guess the prequels were trying to be sort of new.
It's just crazy because we're in the day and age where everyone complains about like, oh, every Marvel movie looks the same, feels the same, and it's like, so Star Wars does this really ambitious sequel to The Force Awakens.
As ambitious as Disney would let them, and it
worked.
Because that's the other thing, like in terms of like tone and feel for this movie, is like, because it has a lot of those reflections of things that have happened in the original trilogy. Not so much like Force Awakens, where that was a kind of a beat for beat retelling, just with cool, better, not better, but newer details. This one, it takes a lot of those iconic things and moments, but it twists them. It inverts them sometimes.
Yep.
And that just attributes to, because I imagine, you know, Rian Johnson is the only credited writer for this movie, but we all, I mean, it's Disney. We know, you know, stuff. There were either things had to get approved, or you know, there was probably stipulations. You got to put stuff in that we can make into toys and whatnot. And considering, because I mean, maybe that wasn't the case, but I'm just going to say it's very, very likely that was the case. And considering it's Disney and they just want to make money, Rian Johnson did a good job, I would say, of like fulfilling what they want, but still trying to make something new and creative. And ambitious.
It's such a goofy sentiment too. Just you saying that just reminded me, just the fact that they think that like Disney is like the evil of like the merchandising that is Star Wars. Like tell it to anybody who collected Kenner action figures. You know what I mean? Like Star Wars was already doing that on its own.
Oh yeah, well Star Wars
invented that game pretty much.
Were they not? Did you guys not watch the beginning of A New Hope? You know, like everything that happens on Tatooine with all those little aliens and critters and creatures and you know.
Well, back then,
bots and all the everything.
Yeah, well, and like I mean, back then it was like when Star Wars first came out, merchandising wasn't really a big thing.
Yeah,
I mean, it existed. It existed, but it wasn't like a huge.
This was the thing that.
This was the thing that made it successful,
exactly.
And then after the fact, it was like, okay, now we really have to.
It's kind of it
invented it.
It invented merchandising, essentially.
So it's really hard to sit there and say that that's Disney's fucking fault.
Yeah. To me, honestly, I love seeing those things like the Borgs, or you know.
To me, that's kind of part of Star Wars.
Yeah, it's part of the charm.
I mean, maybe just because we live in happy capitalist America or some shit, but I think that that's kind of part of it, to have these, like, I know, like, some people have asked that about
the milking of the
like just creatures and blue milk and
green milk. This time.
See, turn it on its ear again.
So it's
that
breaking
Rian Johnson,
ground.
he's tricky.
No, like
milk.
No, when they were on Canto Bite, you know, and that's. Like, as an adult, like, I'm not going out and buying these toys, but I still love some of the stuff in that casino just because it, like, feeds my want for cool creations and, like, makeup, like, cool monsters and aliens, you know? It's, like, it doesn't need to serve, like, I mean, yeah, we'll get more into that later, but, not every, like, thing in Star Wars has to serve a direct purpose. It can just be there just to add
atmosphere.
atmosphere, to give
world
flavor.
building moment. That's what builds out the Star Wars universe. I hate the idea. I had someone after this movie was like, they had a theory that like Rey and Ben and Poe are all siblings because apparently Han and Leia had a Guatemalan baby. Like, explain that shit. But anyway, it's just where people are always trying to make this fucking Star Wars universe so damn small.
Yeah.
And I love, like I said, I'm so glad that you mentioned it because when we left the theater, I even said that. I was like, I know a lot of people are gonna hate the Canto Bight like part of the movie, but I love it because it's showing us these other things in the Star Wars universe that we've never gotten to see before. We've never gotten to see Star Wars aristocracy. We've never gotten to see something like that. You know what I mean? Like, we should be Finn, but we're just a bunch of jaded cunts. and that's what's so sad about, like, you know, I get it, like, it doesn't end up coming back to, like, serving the plot in the best way. But God, is it not fun to go and see something like that? It was so enjoyable. It kept my interest.
It almost breaks my heart a little bit.
Exactly.
That,
people can't just have fun with something like that.
And
just seeing the Star Wars world get a little more life breathed into it.
Yeah.
Because we have another opportunity here.
Because lots of people have been comparing the Canto Bight stuff to like some of the just dumb kiddie shit in the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think I never thought it got to that. The only time it kind of felt prequel-ish is when there was that one alien trying to put coins into BB-8 and like burps in his face. That felt a little prequel-ish, but it was so brief, and it's the only part of the movie that's
I could see that fitting in Jedi somewhere. Like,
Jedi's
gastrointestinal jokes.
Return of the Jedi is an anomaly, but that one's I do overall really like that movie, but it's
I know.
But
definitely has a lot more of that stuff. So it's not even the worst. Like the one you mentioned, it's like that's not even the worst.
That's not even the worst one, but I think it's because.
So.
But I think because you know it does kind of make people think back to the prequels. It's like this movie's bad.
I don't know. I think it's really when Kylo's shirt was off. I thought I was thinking of the prequels.
But yeah, like the Canto Bight stuff. I mean, but like with that, I don't know
where we want to go.
We want to go with this, but I guess
just rabbit trailing, man.
I guess we'll just dive right into this. Like, you know, because the Canto Bight plot, subplot, side plot, whatever you want to call it, is like in terms of how it directly affects the plot. It's mostly kind of pointless, but we get to see more of Finn and Rose and their characters. Mm-hmm. It's not just that, like you said, the aristocracy, it's not just that we're getting a new setting and new aliens. We're seeing like a new type of criminal in Star Wars.
Yeah. Like how economy essentially functions.
And it doesn't
a slicer.
And
that's a great little thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't in a way where it doesn't like focus on it for 20 minutes in a boring Senate hearing, you know? It's not like that. It's just a nice peppering. It's just a little flavor to this movie that makes it unique.
Well, there's a lot of things, too, because they're establishing future developments, too, in that.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, possibly.
At least, you know, well, depending on
where they go with the whole kid thing.
We'll get to
we'll get to that later, but
I think definitely, though, I mean, kind of the connective tissue here for what we've been talking about, though, like, I mean, I think a lot of also people's problems with the Canto Bight thing is because of it being one of my few problems with The Last Jedi, kind of going back toward the beginning of the movie. Poe does his gambit. It costs a lot of lives. He gets shut down.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that Holdo doesn't tell him the plan is the only reason that the Canto Bight stuff happens.
Yeah.
And I see it as being a legitimate complaint.
No, it is. It totally is. It's a like I would argue the whole the Admiral Holdo not telling Poe what the plan was. That is like I can't think of like a reasonable explanation.
I don't know. She causes her own mutiny to happen.
But
she does that.
The reason it doesn't entirely it never damages the movie for me, not extremely anyway, is because there's the theme of the movie of trust, and trust goes both Poe and Finn and Rose's story. You know, they have to trust this guy they've never met. And he ends up betraying them, and then Poe doesn't trust this one person. It's like he should have just trusted them all along. It's it's like there's a theme of opposites and duality throughout the movie, and I think that's one of them. And because that's there, and because I caught it, it's pointless, but it's not worthless. Is what I think I said.
Yeah. It's pointless, but that's great way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's something I'll say a lot, but
to me, it doesn't. I don't know. In my mind, I just it doesn't bother me as much, and it didn't bother me as much in my second viewing because, like, Poe Dameron, he never really gives her a chance to just kind of talk to him.
Yeah,
she kind of like his introduction. He's very arrogant, cocky, and she just shuts him down and like. I thought you were demoted. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
And then the next time he goes in and talks to her, he's like flipping out. He's like losing his cool.
And that's
again.
when she should have shut him down right there.
Yeah, I know, but it's like I don't know. You don't tell people everything. I know you could prevent mutiny, but I don't think she thought that was going to actually happen.
Time to not tell somebody something.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie, they said there's 400 people in the entire rebellion. He was like, he's your ace pilot. Like. He's freaking out. Like, telling him the plan would have calmed him down.
Yeah, it's
that's a situation where you should be telling people information when their lives are hanging in the balance, and people might do something desperate because there's 12 people left.
Yeah, but for me, like, logically, I can get past that because I know that like people in leadership don't tell people that aren't.
Yeah,
all the time.
It's a very weird thing in this movie.
It's like you wish that of course, like that would prevent what everything else was happening, but she didn't know what was happening behind her back either.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? I don't know. I can get past it.
I would be. I'm. That's something where I'm genuinely interested. I would like to hear what Rian Johnson said. Like, I wonder if there's like any deleted scenes that might explain it, or
he was probably saying that the plot needed to move. So
yeah.
it's just one of those things. That's where I give it a pass. Is that like we're watching a movie. It needs to go somewhere.
Yeah,
the most realistic movie that you could possibly watch. You're living it and you hate it, and that's why you watch movies. So you should probably just kind of like. Sometimes there's just things like that where it's a flaw, but like I said, it's a great movie that has flaws.
Go ahead.
Well, it was more just a joke, but I was just gonna say Batman v Superman would have happened if they just talked things out. So this is like that version, except way less stupid.
Yeah.
Because it's not the only thing happening in the freaking movie.
Mm.
But no, that's all.
No, I didn't like the complaints of the pacing with the Canto Bite. Actually, I watched Chris Stuckman's review of it, and I usually lean pretty closely with what he has to say. But he even mentioned like it was. Completely ruined the pacing for him in the third act. It was like, Canto Bite's not in the third act.
No, it's
kind of midway through the second act.
Yeah,
and honestly, I felt like the clip it kept going. It's like maybe you wanted more time with Rey and Luke on the island. You could always want more of other things, but I didn't think it ruined the pacing. I thought it kept clipping along between all three stories and. It never dragged. No, actually, I didn't even know the movie was 2 hours and 44 minutes long. Well, and I got out of the theater. It was like one. I was like, what time is it?
Yeah.
How long was that movie?
The only time the pacing ever bugged me in this movie was just like the last 20 or 30 minutes, like after.
Between
the stuff on Crate. Yeah, the stuff on Crate. I thought it's not. It's not so much that I thought it was unnecessarily. It just felt like it felt like the movie should have been over before that. Like when Rey, like after the big fight in Snoke's throne room, and I don't know. It just felt a little too extended. But the scene in it, that whole sequence in itself, I still enjoyed. So it's like
it's a last stand after the third act almost.
Yes, exactly. It's weird pacing, but. I still enjoyed it, so it was just like it's like on a roller coaster, and you hit one of those stopping points. It's like, oh, that was weird, but then you just keep going, like it's just gonna slow you down and then eject you even further. So, that was the only time the pacing ever bothered me. I would say there's editing issuff in the movie, but that's different. Like in the way I'm thinking of it, it's different than pacing, because stuff like Back to the Crate stuff at the end. Luke and Kylo, they're gonna go fight, and it's like they're in their stances and they're ready to fight, and then it cuts away to everyone in the cave, and they're like trying to figure out where to go, and it's showing Rey is looking for them up above, And it's seriously like almost like I want to say it's close to like 4 minutes of screen time go by before we get back to Luke and Kylo, and they're still just standing there. It's that kind of editing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really break the pacing for me. I just noticed that it's like it seems like something should have happened.
That episode of Game of Thrones really messed with you.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
The north of the wall.
Hey, that's still an enjoyable.
How did he run? No, we don't.
There's portals actually.
There's portals.
They can fast travel. To
Yeah,
the video game.
But then that one just
see, like, yeah, my brain. It's hard for me to critique that way. I give a lot of passes for editing in that way. I guess.
Yeah,
no,
I know you're OCD.
Well, and it's not
more
even
so
that
than me.
Yeah, and it's not even that it really bothers me. It's just something that I notice.
Yep.
That is, it's not like, you know, it doesn't like nothing. I'll just say nothing in this movie damages it to me. It's not like it's just like there's nothing about this movie that I hate that I just wish wasn't there. It's just how it's all cobbled together. There's a couple bumps in the road is really how it all goes for me. But
I was actually really surprised to see your initial comments on The Last Jedi.
Oh, man.
And actually just our conversations that we had between when you saw it and when I saw it, I was getting nervous.
I was too.
Because I was like, Nelson didn't like it, you know, or
yeah,
just like I don't know.
Well, that was such a weird experience because you know when a movie like this especially when they come out, you know you look on IMDb and you look on Rotten Tomatoes at the user scores and they're absurdly high sometimes.
Yeah, right away. Yeah.
Right, like Rogue One.
Thursday nights.
Rogue One, you know, it had like a freaking 8.9 for like 2 weeks. It felt like. It eventually goes down to where it should be, but like this movie, I didn't see it at the Thursday night showing. I saw it on Friday morning. And
that's right. Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't, you know, and I'm sitting outside the theater and I'm just, you know, the theater wasn't open yet, so I was just looking on my phone. And I'm just looking at this and I'm like, holy shit, this has a lower audience score than Justice League. Like an actual bad movie. And it was just so, like, I was sitting outside of that theater for like an hour. I got there way ahead of time. And I'm just watching, I go back to the Rotten Tomatoes page every couple minutes, and I'm just watching the score slowly drop into the negative. I'm like, holy shit, this is either I'm going to agree with these people, or it's going to be like, where it's like Ang Lee's Hulk, where I strangely love that movie, but everyone hates it. So, you know, I just was so, like, I genuinely did not know what to think when I went into it.
It is pretty crazy that it's lower than Attack of the Clones. Because that's a dumpster fire movie.
Oh my god. Yeah, the fact that I mean, we'll see what. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how this movie.
Poor writing, poor acting.
It's just a bad. That's just
poor CGI, poor greens. It's literally got everything that's bad about it, plus the story. And then you know, this movie just has some minor. You know,
if you don't like this movie, you don't like this movie. But I don't think it's fair to call it a bad movie either. It's kind of like I don't like Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, but I wouldn't call it a bad movie. I just don't like it. So yeah, I really didn't know what to expect. This was probably the most neutral I've been going into a major movie in a long time.
I mean, obviously one of the big things that people have talked about as far as their really big negatives, and we mentioned her a couple times here, but on a scale from Jar Jar Binks to 10, how bad is Rose for you guys?
Rose?
I liked Rose.
You guys really liked Rose? I mean, because I've heard a lot of criticism. A lot of people really don't like her, saying that she's Jar Jar levels of bad.
No, that's just...
In her introduction scene, I wasn't sure. I didn't dislike her, but I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. I'm like, I think part of it is that a lot of her lines sound like they had to be redubbed. I don't know if it's just a side note, but that was something I noticed. But I'm watching her first scene, I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about this character. But immediately after that, once their adventure gets going, I think she's a great character. I like she's... Like Force Awakens, she's a character. Like, you know, I wanted to see where these characters go. I want to see where her character goes.
Yeah,
like I think she's fun. She's likable. She's got depth.
I think what brought that type of criticism to her character though was like the animal rights stuff.
Oh god.
You know, but even then though, it's just a minor thing. I think, and honestly, that bothers a lot of people.
Caring about animals does bother a lot of people.
Yeah, it does bother a lot of people, and just because that her as a character.
You know,
come on.
My only complaint with Rose is just I honestly really don't like her That's how we win, by saving the ones we love, not killing the
Oh,
ones.
yeah.
But it's, I mean, the fact that, like, the base is blowing up behind it, and we know that Poe's going to get them out of there and they're going to be fine, but it's like, the base is blowing up right behind her when she's saying it. She sounds like an idiot to me. So it's really hard in that scene, but other than that, I'm quite neutral on her. I don't love her, but I'm definitely don't have like the venom that I've seen online that people have for this character.
I think though, like, it is kind of dumb, but at the same time, like, she's like, she was a mechanic, and she literally is like fighting in front of like 10 AT-ATs, like in like a 50-year-old ship, like it's fucking crazy out there, and she just crashed, and she's half unconscious, and that's what she says. And come on, I'm sure some people have said some stranger things on the battlefield.
And a lot of people really, I think, wanted to see Finn do that and sacrifice himself. I know a lot of people I've seen liked that maybe as a beat, and then that she took that away because she wanted to kiss him. Like, kind of, really, a lot of people were not, like, too hot on crazy on that idea. I totally get it. I thought the line was a little cheesy, too.
It's a little cheesy.
It's cheesy, but it's suitable for Star Wars.
Yeah, with everything that's going on, it just is a very little, it's a strange little moment to have another twist there, and then that kind of that cheesy moment there in what's going on. You know what I mean? They're like feet away from the First Order.
I think in some ways, though, it's important because Finn is battling, I think, that same type of with that conflict within himself too, and you can tell with his character and the way it was building in the film. In that moment, he wants to be, I don't know, like he breaks the orders. Even Poe Dameron was like, no, we need to back out of here, and I feel like Finn is doing it for the wrong reason. Yeah. I would have been fine with seeing him die. I was actually preparing for it. I thought it was the moment that we were going to lose Finn, and I was mentally ready for it. And I was kind of, not excited, I guess, in that sense, but like in a way, I was kind of like, this is it. This is a good moment. This is this is a good moment for Finn to die, to give his life. I will accept it because this is a very good moment.
Yeah.
And I can see why people would be upset that he was saved.
I was robbed of the moment.
Yeah, like robbed of that moment. But hey, that stuff happens in the Star Wars universe quite a bit.
Yeah.
And you get to see these characters live to see another day.
See, when I never thought Finn was going to die. I actually thought it was going to be Rose who was going to die. I thought she did die. When I first saw it, like when she kisses him and then like clonks out, like, oh, she's dead?
She went full Marion Cotillard?
Yeah. Like I thought that's what happened. I was like, oh shit, they killed her? But no, it's a cheesy line and it's a questionable decision. But it goes into like one of the other themes of the movie, and it's funny that this came out the same year as Dunkirk. That like one of the themes of the movie is sometimes survival is the only victory you're gonna have.
Yeah,
like you got to take every victory you can, and sometimes just staying alive is the best.
You know what's funny? This movie actually has a lot of similarities to Dunkirk.
Oh, totally.
In movie making style.
Oh yeah.
With it's an escape, like them getting away.
Yeah.
And the way that it's intercut between three separate stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No. I guess just to cap off with the Rose stuff on my end, anyway. Yeah, like her saving Finn. It's cheesy and it's questionable, but overall it didn't bother me because it kind of develops. It serves a theme of the movie. It shows more of her character. And also, I'm just thinking, like, okay, if Finn did die putting out that cannon, I'm sitting here thinking, though, it's like, but there's still got to be other ways that the Empire or the First Order can just get through that. I mean, they got one of the most powerful Force users ever on their side.
Figure it out.
So I feel like you could have written it differently, but it's like if he had died, it would have.
How much is he really gonna?
It's still just prolonging the inevitable.
He saved us 15 minutes, guys.
Yeah. When there's like 15 people left too.
Yeah.
Having that 16th person is important.
And that's exactly. Yeah, and I didn't notice that. I didn't really catch on to that. I completely forgot about it, honestly, until you mentioned it. But there's. I guess I didn't realize there's only like 12 or 15
people that are on the Falcon.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that is it. I mean, I knew that's all there was, but for some reason I thought there was more of them on there. But there's one shot where it shows all that's left, and I'm like, yeah, you kind of need everyone you can get right now. So that's another reason why it didn't. I mean, it's still kind of dumb that she crashed her ship.
Yeah, like, how does she know she's not gonna fucking kill
both of them?
Yeah, they both die.
But this is Star Wars. This is a universe of happy coincidences. Mm-hmm. So overall, like I said, nothing
happy coincidences. Yep.
It's like a Bob Ross show. But no, it's it just kind of to echo what I said earlier. This is a movie that there's nothing about it that I hate. There's things that I have, there's almost everything in the movie. Even if it's a problem, I can find something to glean from it, and it just makes the movie. Maybe that's just me being desperate, or I'm just like, I just really love this movie. There's just a lot in it for me. So, no, I really like Rose's character a lot. I would say she's probably my least favorite of like the newer characters.
Yeah.
But she's of the young cast. I would say.
I don't know what you call it. They're Han, Leia, and Luke.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. So
whatever that group is in every Star Wars saga now, like that group. Yeah, she really is going to be a long-term addition. Yeah, she's probably the least favorite of those four.
But she's I still liked her a lot. I'm still interested to see where her story is going to go. And seeing what Star Wars is going to do with a potential love triangle, because it feels like every franchise.
I don't know, man. Maybe Reylo's real, guys. Reylo may very well be.
Do we want to dive into that? Because
I think we definitely should talk about Rey. I think we have gone very far into this podcast with The Last Jedi, and we've not talked about Luke or Rey or Kylo very much. We haven't talked about any Jedi yet.
We're just skimming the surface.
But yeah, I think that we could potentially see, because I think they definitely show, Rey asking about Finn in this movie a lot more. Yeah. I felt like it was a different kind of feeling than what we got in Force Awakens between those two. And it's been this one very separated.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting as far as going forward into 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting, and from his perspective, he was knocked out. Yeah, and he's right back up.
Yeah, and first thing he says is Rey.
Where's Rey?
Yeah,
I really like that.
I genuinely each time that I've seen this movie now, that part comes up, and I kind of forget he's gonna say it. I'm like, that's a touching moment.
And in some ways, also that plays into me giving Canto Bight a pass as well, because he is just on an unrealistic expectation to get Rey. Find Rey. Where's Rey? Rey is like somewhere off in the galaxy on a hidden Jedi temple island.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find her, dude.
Yeah.
But he is so determined that he is just to do anything that he can to try and get off that ship and find her. And this is one of the things that he's doing.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's purpose. It plays into his character.
Yeah.
And plays into what's going on with his character. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you can't discredit that at all.
Well, I'll always take character over plot details.
Yeah.
In that situation for sure. And I think that their arc that they have, or just a little bit of interaction, or just non-interaction between the two, but them missing each other is a great thing that's in this movie. I love the little moment that Rey has with Chewie. She's
telling, it's.
And we don't know what she says.
What do you say?
But of course, I mean,
all right,
there's Ryan Johnson put a little J.J. Abrams mystery box on there for us.
It was funny. I like that. I like Chewie in this one. Seeing the Millennium Falcon fly. Post now Han Solo. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
It just made me feel like I don't even know how to explain how it made me feel watching the scene when they arrive.
Yeah.
At Crate at the end, and the it
feels. I would describe it as that was because with these types of movies where they bring back a franchise without rebooting it. Mm-hmm. You refer to it as passing the torch or passing the baton or whatever. And that moment, that was the moment for me. Actually,
where you felt like the baton's now in the next
baton
hand.
Is now the next generation is now in control. When it's just Chewie's there, but Chewie's such a weird character because he's without Han, but without Han, it almost feels like a different character.
Yeah,
in some ways,
in a weird way, and it's hard to describe. But that moment when they come flying in,
he's mourning Han Solo's death, man. He's a different character. He's different now. he's different too.
I couldn't help but think that Peter Mayhew, his health is obviously not very good. He's sitting down in most of his scenes.
Well, I don't even think he was in
They have
this
the one dude. No, he is.
He is?
Credited. Like I said, I think that's why you see him sitting down in a lot of his scenes.
Yeah.
In this film, you see this because I know they got that other tall guy for when he's running around and doing some more of the action stuff. But you tell the times where they're using Peter.
Yeah.
He's sitting in like the cockpit, things like that.
Yep.
It's one that you could interchange though.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to give up Chewie, like if you didn't want to kill him off, and he's just going to be a continued character.
I would like that. I think I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's kind of this different kind of character because he's a little bit outside, which is kind of bad. It's honestly Star Wars is racist. It's a little bit racist. You know what I mean? He's a Wookiee. He doesn't count. It's not like he's Pluto or some shit.
I just mean like you don't have to write his aging process. Because of an actor. Like if you want to keep him around for another 10 films. I hope 9 has
a lot of Chewie pathos. I hope we get like a lot.
No, we're gonna get a lot of Chewie.
Can't find any tall actors. Gonna have to get the Ewoks back.
We're gonna like rolling tears and everything. Wookiee crying.
You're forgetting the most hotly anticipated movie of this franchise, the Han Solo movie.
Oh my god!
Where we will get so much depth into the mythos of the Han and Chewie relationship.
Well, you get to really see how much of a dumpster fire that thing is. I mean, it's going to be one of the worst hacks.
They're still dedicated to that May release date, and they still don't have a trailer. That's a good sign, especially from Disney.
I thought they pushed it back to Christmas. They did.
If it had to have happened today, it had to have happened today. Because I just checked it yesterday, and it was still for May.
Really?
But anyway. We'll talk about that on another day.
Yeah,
But anyway, that's another thing with the crate sequence. Just that whole sequence. That I guess it's not just the Millennium Falcon. That maybe kind of keyed it in for me. But that whole sequence, that felt like this is now a new generation of Star Wars.
Well,
Kylo's in charge now.
Yeah.
It's all that's left is Leia, Chewie, and Luke for a couple minutes.
I mean, like, we talking about this movie so meta. Leia even has the thing where she's just like, "Why are you looking at me? Listen to him."
Yes.
And then I mean, a lot of Poe's storyline, which I said I really liked, is they're really trying to teach him how to be a leader and teach him how to think like a leader and not like just a pilot. You know what I mean? Who just wants to go out and shoot stuff. You know, you have other priorities and responsibilities. You have to make other decisions based off of other things than just, how do I blow this up and take out this one objective in my path?
Which is really good writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love Poe's arc. It's my favorite arc.
Yeah, it's really good writing. It's not just like at the start of 9, he's the leader. They wrote it in. They established it, and that was before they knew. Carrie Fisher was going to pass away. So, it's very. There's a lot of things actually. There's a lot of moments with Princess Leia or General Leia and Carrie Fisher in this film that just a lot of dialogue that's exchanged. The stuff with her and Luke.
Yeah.
At the end there.
I imagine that might have been like a post thing, like a quick reshoot. But that line, no one's ever really gone, and he's saying it to Leia.
Yeah.
I genuinely when Carrie. Just a quick side note, I guess, but like when Carrie Fisher died last year, it didn't really hit me that much. I don't know what it was. It just didn't really hit me. But watching this movie, it's like a delayed reaction. It's like, because it's like, well, she just has more to do, and I forgot how good of an actress she was because she was a weird person, and she was a weirdo, but she liked
to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, she had a lot of fun, but she's playing a character that feels like a real feels like a real person with real responsibilities.
Yeah.
So,
do we want to just touch on the
quote-unquote
Mary Poppins
that's exactly what I wanted to say.
Before we move back to Rey and Luke.
Yeah, did you guys hate that? Did you guys
no!
like that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I was impartial at first because I'm kind of like, that looks a little goofy.
Yes.
It looks a little
visually it looks goofy. A little goofy.
But as it went on, and you got John Williams playing his ass off in the background, and it's like realizing that this is a character that I've loved since my childhood, and people have loved for 40 years, and like seeing her finally use the Force. She's a powerful Force wielder, so let's not
we
say
really
that
just
she
see
can't
sense abilities, like those things like far seeing and things like that,
and like people like say she's flying or whatever. Well, she's in zero gravity.
Yeah,
she actually just has to give the most subtle of touches to the Force to actually pull herself back through space.
The bigger thing is that if she was using the Force to help her survive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and pull herself back. And a lot of people are trying to poke at that, but it's a movie about space wizards. She's one of the most powerful ones, guys.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't realize that, you're not paying attention since Empire, how powerful Leia is. I mean, even I think in lore, Yoda even says he wishes that he got to train Leia instead of Luke. So if that tells you anything about the raw power that Leia possibly has, doing something like this, looking at my lore sheet, it checks out.
Yeah, and even in just normal science, you can't survive in space for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like
everybody's an armchair scientist, John. Everyone's Neil deGrasse Tyson out there.
It's
if you have a Twitter, you're a scientist.
Yeah. I think
they wanted to see her eyes pop out of her head and her like freeze, and that's what everybody wanted because it's realistic. I don't want to see their Last Jedi. I really don't.
Oh God, no.
Haunting.
I don't want the fanboy version of Last Jedi. But anyway, it was. Like you said, it was goofy. It was Red Letter Media said the best way to describe it is it's just strange. It's a strange visual that we're not used to. Yeah. It's like because it's not like the rules of how it works. Like the Force is, it's mystical. It's not founded in like any kind. They're discarding the prequels. It's not supposed to be like scientific and stuff. It's just magic.
It's about space with laser swords.
Yes,
you said it a couple times.
So it's
that's what I would say that too because it is actually pretty beautifully shot.
Yeah,
the back, just what you're.
I think it's
visually.
more just seeing an old lady in a nice dress in space. Like I think it's just that. Is what's throwing people off because otherwise it makes sense.
The Mary Poppins,
quote unquote Mary Poppins. It threw me off. Mm-hmm. Like I wasn't expecting that, but it never like bothered me.
No,
I actually appreciate. I find more wonderment out of it each time I see it.
Oh, and I love the moments leading up to that though too.
Oh my God,
Kylo's character and the cuts back and forth between them, which I will say I don't think they needed to cut. 3 times back and forth. It's really put it on the nose a little bit to get fans these people. They're connected in their minds right now.
Well, and that's also just a side note. That's that was a referential shot from something from Empire.
Oh, okay.
At the end with Luke and Vader when they're communicating.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
The way it fades in and out is identical. Maybe the angles are different, but the way it's faded is identical. But no, that whole scene. With Kai, just the tension. There's so much tension, but no dialogue between them. It's just these great characters and these great actors with a great filmmaker and great score and all this shit that comes together.
God, this movie was such shit, guys.
It's 1 out of 10.
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10.
It's just. And like I was telling Gio earlier, that Rian Johnson, it's obvious that his love for Star Wars isn't stronger than his love for filmmaking, because this is a filmmaker's movie, as much so as a big company like Disney would let them on a property like this. This is mostly a filmmaker's movie, because there's so much stuff that just happens just because of the way the movie's put together.
This is one of the more creative, big blockbusters of this generation of filmmaking.
Yeah, certainly.
In terms of creative, creative, just control, and you can see that like you said, it's a filmmaker's movie. You don't get a whole lot of that in these bigger, summer blood. The 3 or 4 big films that come out a year, typically Marvel, DC, whatever else. Or now Star Wars films, but it just what it does, all the creativity that went into it, it's so massive scale.
Yeah,
it's how much money was put into this film to make it just look and feel that way. But then all of the writing, it's just stuff that was put into it, the care that was put into it and allowed to be put into it.
In a time where we see a lot of these being by committee movies and very obviously by committee movies, the way that they play out.
I mean, it's Disney. I mean, Marvel, the cinematic universe of Marvel. I mean, the movies have varying qualities, but we all know it's committee stuff. Yep. It's calculated. There's maybe other than some of the stuff in Guardians and maybe in the Avengers, the first Avengers.
And that was the complaints going in with with when The Force Awakens came out.
Yeah.
So,
but that was still that one. Force Awakens, that's a J.J. Abrams movie, and J.J. Abrams has such a distinct style. I won't say it's he's just groundbreaking, but when I watch a J.J. Abrams movie, I can if I didn't know it was by him, I could probably take an educated guess it's him just by the way he moves the camera and paces it all together. Whereas like the Marvel movies, more often than not, they all do feel similar. With a few like Guardians is like probably the biggest Guardians and Thor Ragnarok are probably the biggest variations so far. But more often than not, they have all these different directors, but they all feel the same. Like in a way, it's just cobbled together, and the style is all. It's not bland. I won't say it's bland, but it is similar. Whereas like you go from Force Awakens, and it doesn't feel like a Marvel movie. It doesn't feel like. I mean, it is a committee movie, but it doesn't have the same feel that Marvel does.
And then just touching on fandom, I think that's one of the coolest things about Star Wars and what we're seeing with this reboot, or this,
revival.
The revival of Star Wars and Disney taking over and doing it. These films have a lot of care put into them. They have listened to the fans, bringing. Well, I don't even know. Like, Force Awakens for sure. They
knew what not to put into the movie.
Yep. But there's some Star Wars contains a magic. There's a magic about Star Wars that emotionally hits people in a way that like I don't think any other franchise ever has.
Mm-hmm. Lord of the Rings might be the only.
And you want to see, like, of course, the decision to do what they did with Luke Skywalker in this film was going to cause that type of reaction, but not even an uproar. I mean, I loved Rian Johnson's, I think, latest tweet that he put out. He's like, my intention is not to divide fans, at all, but like we had to make decisions on this character, and it's just, and I defended him even further with you just saying Rian Johnson's a bigger Star Wars fan than we are. Obviously,
he understands.
He fell in love with Star Wars, and then he pursued becoming a filmmaker, and now he's being given $1 billion to make a trilogy. This guy loves Star Wars, people. Like he's in an office right now, like writing screenplays for a Hollywood Star Wars film. This guy loves Star Wars.
He understands Star Wars in a way that, like, he understands Star Wars in a way to tell a story through film, not to appease a fan theory or nostalgia. Or wouldn't this be cool?
Yeah.
It's Last Jedi just comes across as a movie where it's just telling a story.
Yeah.
Like, even like people are calling it twists. It's like, imagine 20 years from now, like when people just know what this story is. It's kind of like a lot of people seem to have forgotten that Luke, I am your father is a twist.
Yeah.
It was a twist anyway.
Yeah.
Now it's just common knowledge. It's like, imagine 20 years from now when you're watching this movie and everyone knows what this plot is. It's just telling a story, and it's still pretty damn good at it. Like, it never... Like, I feel like it's like people are expecting those twists now with Star Wars, and it's like Star Wars was never really about twists. Even in the prequels, it was never really about that. To the prequels, very little credit.
Yeah.
It was never about that. And so, like, I'm just watching this movie, and it's like, I'm thinking of them, I guess it's a twist from what you were expecting.
Yeah. Well, just touching on that, it's funny, though, because, like I said, the person with their theory about who's kids, it's a very specific twist that everyone thinks that Star Wars is doing, is that it's a familial twist.
Yeah.
It's someone's sister, or brother, or father, or mother. You know what I mean? Like, it's that twist that they're always looking for, where this one served up some actually interesting character beats and, like, turns that, like, actually go places and clean the slate.
Yeah.
Like, this is, and the entire time you guys were talking, the thing I was thinking about is, like, Rian Johnson made a movie that we need right now, not a movie that we want right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we need that movie right now for this franchise before we go into 9. 9 can be something that's going to satisfy. It's supposed to be the capper. It's supposed to be the end. You know what I mean? We'll have JJ back, and we can hit your nostalgia button a bunch of times and make you feel good. But this movie needed to change and do something different. It's the middle point of the franchise of this new saga, and needed to wipe the slate clean.
So that's touching on Snoke's death.
Yeah.
How'd you guys feel about that? Because I feel like that was another thing Rian Johnson recently tweeted out about.
Yeah.
He was asked, why
people are pissed.
People are pissed. Why did you decide to do that? Well, he was never a big character. Everyone just started assuming he was because he's a Sith, and that's what you attach to the original trilogy and the prequels.
Snoke's death, gave me fucking chills like I wouldn't believe. My only disappointment with Snoke's death is that it's just a me thing. I just want to see more of Andy Serkis.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
I don't care about Snoke's character because
Yeah.
he's just an archetype. He's just a stereotype for this franchise, and that's why you need to get rid of him because he's bringing nothing new to the table other than Andy Serkis is giving a. I don't know. I thought he was more menacing than the Emperor.
Yeah, what's awesome about this and why it's also really good that they did what they did, not just because it's not just a twist.
It's a character.
It's a character propulsion for Kylo.
Yes.
The moment
he
yeah.
develops into a very different kind of villain that we've ever seen in Star Wars.
Because for a Sith apprentice, I mean, like what do you do to become a Sith? Like you have to kill your master.
Yeah.
And that's or kill a master.
He succeeds.
He does that.
He's fulfilling.
It's personal.
He's fulfilling his promise from Force Awakens, where he's going to finish what Vader started. And Vader, one of his goals was to become the ruler of the galaxy.
Yep.
So he's getting there. And I just want to touch on that further, even by saying, because people are like, how did Snoke, an all powerful he is, not know that he was turning the saber gonna?
Yeah.
If you watch that scene,
yeah.
Snoke is like reading his mind during that moment, and he is believing. He's seeing it.
Yeah.
He's
seeing
that.
what Kylo's doing, but it's never to whom.
Yeah,
to
he thinks
whom.
it's directed at Rey.
Because
and let's not forget either, Kylo is extremely powerful.
Yeah.
And these Sith, so like a Sith master, I don't know, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are a little sweatier than me in Star Wars, but now. The Emperor is all powerful, but like their trick is like manipulation.
Yeah.
They're manipulating their apprentice, like Vader,
Yeah.
because he is more powerful.
yeah.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. They're using him as their weapon, their tool to get things done because they can't accomplish it on their own. So you can say Snoke is this all powerful because you saw him do what? You saw him do some things, right?
Yeah.
Some pretty cool force wielding things.
Connecting people's minds.
Yeah, connecting people's minds. Cool. And like the lightning, which was really cool. I personally liked it. I don't need a backstory on why.
You don't need like an entire novelization of how the Force lightning works.
He read a paragraph in a Sith Jedi, a Sith Force book, and he learned how to do that one trick.
He had training.
He read some books in his 800-year-old.
There's your answer. It's right there.
But no, Kylo is extremely powerful, more powerful than what we, I think, in a lot of ways think because of the internet, because of he's a whiny kid and whatever else. But
the thing is funny because they make everybody wants the protagonist to be a female, but then the female beats the villain who's a male, but then we say that the villain is nothing because the female won. It's like, well, that's just sexist as hell, honestly. You know what I mean? That you think that Kylo is less of a villain because Rey beat him.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Snoke right at the beginning of the movie is basically the internet. He might have just had the internet posted over his chest while he was saying this. Take that stupid helmet off. You got beat by a girl.
Yeah.
It's the movie is so meta in these moments.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Him smashing the helmet, then giving up.
Everything with Kylo Ren, dude.
Kylo is
Adam Driver is an amazing actor.
Yes.
He is. I think The Force Awakens was one of the first things I saw him in.
It was the first thing I saw.
I think it was the first thing I saw him in. Maybe one.
I didn't
know who he was.
No.
But since then, I've watched a few films with him, and he is kind of blowing up right now. In the best ways, because
he's amazing.
He's an
actor. He's an actor. He's not a star. He's an actor.
He's an actor.
It's
a very good distinction.
And he's bringing a lot of depth to that character, and the stuff in this movie that between Rey and Kylo, I just love seeing that manifestation or that physical representation of the balance.
Oh yeah.
And just seeing when the Force. I love when Snoke addresses it too when he says
darkness rises and light meets.
And he's I knew that your counterpart would rise. I warned you that your counterpart would rise in the light side. I loved that they started talking about the Force more. They're actually giving, you know what I mean? Everyone's complaining about how the Force is wielded in this movie. We've never had anything established with the Force. It's just kind of been Like, it's just the Mary Sue. It gets everyone out of everything all the time, for the most part. But like, we're actually starting to get some structure to what it is and what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really enjoyed
that.
that.
Kind of touching back on the Snoke stuff, because when you were talking about, like, people complaining, how did Snoke not see Kylo was betraying him? Well, and there's, I have two things just to kind of, my explanation for it was, the first one was, the way the way, like, when I was talking to Gio earlier, when Rey and Kylo are having their mental connection, you know, it's not like some CGI effect, it's just a trick in editing. And like even Kylo says, like, they can't see each other's surroundings, they just see them. So it's not like you're getting clear visions. There's even more of that where, like, they have visions of each other where she's like Rey's like, I know you'll turn because you're not bound before Snoke. And it's like she's only seeing part of the picture.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that, and this is kind of more of like a going back to, like, this is a filmmaker's movie or a storyteller's movie, is that because the whole stuff with Snoke in the throne room, that's a callback to Return of the Jedi, obviously. And one of the best lines in Return of the Jedi is, you know, your overconfidence is your weakness. And it's like they never explicitly state that in this movie, but because it's such an obvious callback to that scene, in my mind, that line is in my head. So I'm thinking, Snoke is just so arrogant, he can't see he's going to get betrayed. So I think there's two solid explanations as to why. And it's all, and then third explanation is, we don't need him. You don't need Snoke. You know, he doesn't.
You just assume because
he's a plot device for Kylo's development.
And I think to an extent, I think a lot of people are convinced that Kylo was going to turn, you know, as well, and that, like, he's not going to be. It's like, no, the villain has been standing right there.
Yeah,
we're watching him rise to become one of the best villains that we've seen in this last decade.
I honestly,
he's one of the most compelling villains we've had in so fucking long.
Yeah,
and he's honestly more interesting than Darth Vader really was.
Yeah,
for all the extent of, like, his duration in the original story.
It's a very different.
Only later he gets so much.
It's a very different type of filmmaking. You know, Vader. What's amazing about Vader is, like, what you don't know about Vader in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
When people love mystery around.
Like mystery. And I compared it to, like, the shark in Jaws.
Yeah.
You know, like how that functions. Like,
less is more.
Less is more.
Not always, but in those cases.
Yeah, in those cases, it's like an ambience. You know, when Vader finally does show up, it's, oh shit. You know, is he gonna, like, cut everyone in half? Like, what's gonna happen? Whereas Kylo, you're seeing the conflict within himself. You're seeing the turning. It's better character writing. And it's better character that you can connect with.
Yeah.
Vader, you can't really connect with much until the end.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. You know, honestly, I think Kylo, I swear to God, just for the record, I won't call myself a Star Wars fanboy, but I will say Empire Strikes Back is probably my favorite movie ever. But I do honestly think Kylo might be, like, the most interesting character in any of these movies.
Yeah,
I really think
that earlier as well. That same thought kind of was crossing my mind.
Yeah,
about how
I'm not trying to put down other characters that I've loved in the past. I'm just saying this guy is so interesting and engaging, and you don't know what to expect from him. And Adam Driver is just so great in the role.
He's one of the best.
This movie proved that idea that if you think you know what Kylo Ren is thinking, you're wrong.
Yeah,
like, you're just wrong.
Yeah,
there's so much more going on with him. And we underestimate him now, I feel. Like, the audience underestimates Kylo Ren. Now, there's times where he just sees red, and we see that sometimes. You know what I mean? Where he doesn't have, like, kind of the foresight sometimes, or clarity of thinking.
But the dark side does that, though.
Exactly.
That is the dark side. Like,
exactly.
it is chaos in a lot of ways. You're gaining your power from your anger and your conflict, which conflict causes you to be to not have clarity. Yeah, and that's why you're off balance to the dark side.
Yeah.
But, like, seeing that actually being, they tried doing that with the prequels with Anakin, and it didn't work. God. So we're seeing it Kylo in a way better.
Kylo is the whiny,
way better actor.
Kylo is the whiny, arrogant teenager that works.
Yeah,
that functions, that doesn't irritate you, and you just want him to die.
It would be very easy for the balance to tip in a really bad way with this character, but Adam Driver is just.
I do think a lot of it boils down to just Adam Driver as the performer.
He
understands
probably the strongest thing acting wise in this movie as far as like what's put on his plate and then his performance.
Both
there's other great actors. There's tons of great actors.
Mark
And there's
Hamill.
Donald Gleason's one of the one of the best like young actors we have. Oscar Isaac, we mentioned him before. Like there are some phenomenal talent in these films.
These are really
and even then Adam Driver sticks out. Because of what they ask him to do and his ability to I think even elevate what they're giving him.
Well, and it's kind of to get into like the Reylo stuff. That scene. Yes. Ooh, gossip. No, the scene where Rey realizes that Kylo just wants power and but he's still asking her to join him. I felt more heartbreak in that one scene through both of their performances and just the way it's written than 90% of romantic dramas like Titanic or something.
Yeah.
I felt the real emotion, and they're not even a couple.
Yeah.
And yet I felt like I was being heartbroken by this.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of that. Okay, that's what I love about this so far between these two films and that physical representation of the balance and the Force. I think it's just so unique what they're doing with it and being able to see the dark side and the light side interact in such a way. That really, I think, ties it in uniquely with the approach of bringing it back to that more universal pantheistic Buddhist, that type of where it's in everything. It's
not space bugs in your blood.
It's not space bugs. It's not magic. It's not space bugs. Yeah, it's a religion, and they call it a religion.
It's like the first time since A New Hope that they refer to it as a religion. That kind of threw me off guard.
Yeah, which is cool, and like Rogue One with Chert, and when it
Oh yeah, that's right.
They're
bringing
definitely
the spirituality back.
They're bringing it back in a very cool way.
Yeah, and I'm not a spiritual person, but I get so caught up in that stuff in these, especially in this movie.
What?
Like that scene where Rey and Luke are when she's just feeling everything, she's reaching out with the Force. That was one of my favorite scenes in the movie because it's so engaging.
Darren Aronofsky editing there a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, that was very Noah style editing. But no, and I love that they don't directly say it, but I do love the fact that this movie brings up makes it clear that destroying the Sith isn't balance.
Yeah.
That shit, even as a kid, drove me nuts because I know what balance means, and you can't. That's not balance. That's a dictatorship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I just love the stuff where Luke kind of realizes that the Jedi were arrogant. The line where he's to say if the Jedi die, the light dies is vanity, and it's because the Force is bigger than that.
Yeah, Luke is woke as fuck.
Yeah, all that stuff was great. I love that.
But he shut himself off from the Force though too.
Yeah,
which I think was, and I think they do address it in the film. It was it was a poor conflict. It was a conflict within him.
Yeah.
And Rey noticed that, and he realized it. We got to talk about Luke now.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Luke Skywalker because myself and I'm guessing you guys. Well, I know you were more of a Han fan, but Luke Skywalker is my legend.
Okay.
He is that guy for me.
In context of Star Wars, Luke is he gets better as the series goes on. I'll put it like that. Because in A New Hope, I think he is a little whiny.
Tashi Station gets some power.
But when you're watching the film at age 6,
I'm not saying
that's where my nostalgia lies.
Exactly, and there is nostalgia there, but it's I do think Luke is he's a little too meme worthy in the first movie. In the sequel, I still think he's kind of the weaker link of the main characters. Maybe partially because Mark Hamill's acting wasn't quite there yet. It's still
plus he's off on his side thing.
Yeah. But
get trained.
His his like arrogant behavior fits that movie. Even if it was unintentional, it works for that movie because like, you know, that movie was the original, you know, you don't know what to expect out of these characters anymore. But then in Return of the Jedi that's the best part of the movie is Luke and Vader and the Emperor. That is when I think of Return of the Jedi, that's all I think of is that stuff because everything else is so subpar compared to
it's
it.
such a great
it's what I
ending
think
to
about.
the trilogy.
It's what I think
that
about
scene.
when I think about the trilogy.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
It's such a great wrap up of all the things that have happened over the 3 films. It's such a satisfying ending to any trilogy, and honestly, it's crazy because it is so unconventional. I think in its way, the way that Jedi ends, it's what propels me past the fart jokes.
Yeah, and then in Last Jedi, I mean, Mark Hamill's acting is better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And then I really like story arcs about like characters that, you know,
are downtrodden.
Yeah, like icon. Like I mean, it's the Logan effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, part of what made Logan such an interesting movie was seeing this iconic superhero in such a grimy stage, the lowest point in their life. And I find that stuff interesting. And with Luke, like I was talking about earlier, the original ending to Return of the Jedi was that Luke gives up being a Jedi because he turned to the dark side for a moment. He was susceptible to it, so he didn't think he was worthy of it. And I feel like that's kind of like, you know, they're taking that idea and bringing it back to life. And it felt organic to me. It never felt like this isn't the Luke I know. This felt like an evolution of his character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it worked. And also just the fact that this isn't Luke's story, though, either.
Yeah.
This is about new characters. So a lot of people complaining that Luke just stood on an island and talked.
The moment where the truth about what he did with Kylo finally comes out, and you get to see that, and like when Luke talks about that, I felt shame. Like it was.
That's another Dunkirk comparison. Actually,
it was such an amazing. It was such an amazing moment. Plus, seeing just like the green saber again.
It's the little things.
It's the little things. Yeah, but I didn't know what to believe because they showed that flashback 3 times from Rey's, Kylo's, then Luke's perspective.
I love that they.
I love that they show it like that.
Yeah.
But when you finally get the truth of what actually happened, he did intentionally go in there, but he didn't in his heart want to commit it.
I guess that's kind of like you were saying, that's a Dunkirk comparison because then they do a lot of that like point of view storytelling multiple times.
But yeah, I really enjoyed Luke's character arc. It was the second viewing though where I actually kind of like broke down and actually had tears in my eyes because I accepted it.
Yeah. I
accepted that this was my hero and this is the way that he was going out. And it is powerful. He displays the most powerful thing we've ever seen in the Force with his ghost projection. But not only that, but he's actually physically there in some ways as well. Yeah. Like the energy,
the emotion,
because he touches Leia and kisses her. Yeah. Like
he hands her those dice.
Yeah, he hands her those dice. He is physically there in some ways.
Yeah.
He's just completely controlling the atoms and everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like just that display and like what it means, all the foreshadowing that led up to that, what it means, afterwards with the boy.
And I think that here's the thing too. I think people forget about this from Force Awakens, and it's in the conversation with Rey and Han and Finn, right when Han takes the Millennium Falcon back. To people like Rey and Finn, like, there's Kylo Ren, but okay, yes, we see like Darth Vader, Kylo Ren, but you have to think that like for like a civilian in Star Wars, they would almost never fucking see that shit. Okay, if Kylo Ren showed up, it's because you're gonna die. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's because that's the end. It's like the last thing you see. It's a legend. It's they you know what I mean? Han has to tell them that the Force is real. Yeah. You know what I mean? That Luke isn't just some legend that's gone and fade away. So remember, people have forgotten. The populace have forgotten that this stuff is even real. So this is why Luke's story needed to be this. It couldn't have been what I think a lot of people want. They wanted this sword fight. They wanted him to physically be there. But what he does in this film is greater than that because of what we know about where the world is at and what it's supposed to mean. It being this spark of hope. And that he even foreshadows it. He says, what am I supposed to do? Show up with my lightsaber in front of the whole First Order and, take them all down? Yeah. And it's like, that's the thing we would want. But what does the world in Star Wars at this point in the franchise need? It needs this thing that's larger than life. And he couldn't have done that physically. He couldn't have become that in actuality physically. He even acknowledges that. Yeah. That how the folly in that idea of him coming and doing that. But he then achieves it. And then we see at the end of the film, those kids talking that, because to them, they don't know that he was a projection. To them, Luke Skywalker showed up with his lightsaber and took down the whole First Order.
Yeah.
A thing that we know, like I said, would have been something that Luke could have physically never done. He did the impossible and became a legend.
Yeah.
And reignited the spark of hope.
Again,
it's why this arc, it's like people that say they don't like this, it's like they gave you something greater than the thing that you wanted.
Yeah,
you wanted something so basic and simple when they gave you something that's
Flash.
even more impactful.
In my mind, it's actually like, besides Luke redeeming Vader, it's like the single most influential. It's just it's one of the greatest things a Jedi has ever done on screen.
You said it before, that I'm a Han fan at heart. That's where I started as a kid.
Yeah.
I from the moment he shot Greedo, shot first. The moment he shot Greedo, I was a fan of Han, and I loved Han. I loved the scoundrel, the whole thing. But this is the most I have ever loved Luke.
Yeah.
I love Luke now because of this.
Yeah.
Because it's greater than all of those simple pleasures that of a lightsaber and that stuff can bring.
Yeah,
this is inspired like character work, and it's just
inspired character work.
I've like I said, I've never liked Luke more than after The Last Jedi.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I will not be the Last Jedi.
Oh my god.
See you around, kid.
Oh, like they were both second viewing, both chill moments when he said both of those lines.
Yeah.
Like, and it was funny, the first time around it almost wasn't. There's a second where I'm just really thinking about everything, you know what I mean? And seeing all the details and the work that Rian Johnson had put into this character's, finale here. Like, you couldn't have asked for something better, and it's so sad that people don't appreciate what they got there.
The callback with the double suns was pretty amazing as well.
It's a good capper to his story.
Yeah, his story.
It's appropriate. One detail that I noticed, and I mean, this could just be me reaching, but did you guys notice how, Rey shows up on the island and he's wearing his Jedi robes?
Yeah, and then he never wears them again.
And then he never wears them until she leaves.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's like a conscious... It wasn't just we need him to wear something different now.
I think it was intentional because he's folding it when she walks in.
Yeah, like he's like... I almost feel like it's like, he doesn't want her... He wants to try and derail her from wanting to see the Jedi Master. He's trying to be like... I
agree.
And I think it's like... But then he puts it back on when she leaves. And I mean, it could just be a costume choice, but I would think if from a smart writer and smart filmmaker, that is a conscious decision. Like, it's a subtext, and it's almost it almost gives you the vibe that like Luke is almost like he still wants to be a Jedi. He just doesn't feel like he is anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's something I noticed on the second movie.
Well, they definitely play that though, because I mean he is like the Yoda scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think
where he's hesitating.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was gonna burn it down though.
He was gonna burn it, but he's like hesitating. It almost felt like a cry for attention.
I hope one of his ghost dads shows up to stop him.
It felt that was like completely in character with Luke from the original trilogy.
Yes, exactly.
The scene with Yoda, like the way, like he is kind of like, but they're sacred texts, and Yoda's like page turners. They were not, that's such a great cameo, such a great moment.
I know a lot of people really don't like Yoda in that scene. Well, first thing I like to get out of the way, I love that it's puppet Yoda. CGI Yoda can fucking fuck off.
Oh god.
I love that it's puppet Yoda. That made me really, really happy. I love that there's a few of those like practical, almost hammy-looking like creature effects.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah, because he doesn't look real, but it's like it's Yoda.
It's Yoda. It's Star Wars.
It's supposed to
be Star Wars.
Yeah. The one thing I will say I noticed is that I think they messed up his eye colors because there's something there is. It's nice to see puppet Yoda, but there was something wrong about it, like something off about it. It wasn't the Empire.
No.
And I think I watching it this time. It's hard. It's hard to tell. No, Phantom Puppet is creepy. Phantom Puppet is so bad that
They didn't really change it for Empire of the Jedi that much, though, did they?
No, I think it was the same puppet.
So we've only really had the two.
But from Return to Phantom, that puppet was nightmare fuel. So much so that they CGI'd it out in every release since the Blu-ray. But no, and again, this is just a thing I noticed. It has nothing to do with the quality of the movie, but there was something off about the Yoda puppet this time. And watching it this third time, it's hard to tell because it's a scene that takes place at night. But I think his eye color is off. Like it's brown. His eyes are usually blue, and now it's brown or green, I guess, and now it's brown. It just gave it a different look. I was like,
I know what you're talking about.
You know, there was just something wrong. There was just something off.
It just didn't look like Yoda.
Because like from behind and from like the side, it's like that's Yoda. But when you look at it right on, it's like there's something wrong.
Did you guys have a problem with him being like so jokey and kind of trolling?
No,
that's how he was supposed to be.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as like him and Obi-Wan have been like hanging out dead for a while.
Exactly.
They're really fucking relaxed about this shit. This is really not their fight anymore. You know what I mean? They're like,
Yoda when he was alive. When Luke encounters Yoda, he thinks he's just like this crazy little creature that's living in the forest. Like, show me where's this Jedi? Where's this Jedi Master Yoda? Like, I'll take you to him, And he's like digging through his bag and like just being like he's being like a little pest.
Yeah,
to get out of there, Like get away from me.
Well, and
he's telling him it's exactly what Yoda was supposed to be like.
Well, and I know lots of people are upset about it because like that was supposed to be, or at least people interpret it that Yoda was just
gauging Luke.
Luke, yeah, he was just fucking with him essentially.
Yeah,
because then he turns more stoic for the rest of the movie.
Once Obi-Wan chimes in.
Yeah, he turns more stoic. But in my mind, it's like, Yoda should be a little bit more stoic, but it didn't bother me when he's like giggling because it's like, it's still like I don't think he was entirely acting when he's just having fun with Luke. You have to have a personality.
Like, people are like
God forbid someone have a personality.
Yeah.
Can we just dive into people talking about this movie has tone problems? Like, I've been reading lots of stuff about, like, people think this movie has too many humorous moments.
There's some that really don't land for me.
There's a lot of them don't land. I would say none of them are necessary. But here's my thing, because a lot of people are comparing this to Marvel, and here's what I think is the real difference here, and I think it has an impact, is that whenever there's humor in this movie, if it happens in the middle of the scene, it's during a scene where it's not supposed to be like dark and serious. Maybe it's like Yoda.
There's no jokes in the Snoke's.
Yeah, exactly. There's not
exactly.
But whenever there's humor, it more often than not is at the beginning of a scene, which is way better than having a serious scene and capping it with a joke.
Yeah, what Marvel does.
That's what Marvel does, and this is like, none of the humor was necessary. But it never felt like it broke the tone for me either. The only time it and I don't even know if it was jokey, it was just more cheesy. The only two parts that I thought were like, you could have done without that for sure, was when the Falcon drives away the TIE fighters and Finn is like, "Oh man, they hate that ship." I thought that was really, really corny and kind of it sounded forced.
Honestly, I feel like Finn's done that for me a few times.
He's
Awakens and this.
I think,
like where he calls people like Chrome Dome and stuff. It's always
that one didn't.
Delivery always like it's lines like that and like Chrome Dome. There's something in
I always give it
Droid Please. Like where I'm kind of like
I always give
doesn't quite work for me. I don't hate it. I'm not ragging on it. I'm just saying.
You could do without it.
I can do without it.
Yes.
I give Finn a pass because he is a little naive. He
is. Yeah,
he didn't even have a name until
he doesn't know how to interact with people.
Yeah.
Sure. It's just he's been a robot, like, you know what I mean, like like slave.
No, Finn is definitely one of the more comedic characters in both of these movies, and Force Awakens had a lot of humor in it too, and pretty much none of it was necessary. But the difference here is that Marvel can have really funny jokes, but a lot of times it's at the expense of a great moment, like emotional or dark or serious moment that happened right before it, and it kind of just kills the tone for me. Whereas this, it's like, there's nothing really funny about. I mean, the Yo Mama thing at the beginning it got a giggle out of me. But again, that's at the beginning of the scene.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if that happened after, like,
it's
he's
all
like
Rose's
when
sisters fall. Like,
yeah, and like he's like it's after everyone's dead, but they have like the comm link still on, so he's like flying. He's still flying away, talking to like, oh, fuck off.
No, it was him getting into the ship, and then poof,
yeah.
Oh.
When he's trying to tool with him.
Yeah, and it's like
it makes sense. Like you know.
The humor, none of it was necessary. Because everyone was freaking, and people are still freaking out about it. Like the porgs,
I like them.
They're fine.
It gave Chewie.
I need to put a little more research into this, but I was reading about the porgs that they had these puffins that lived on that island. They're actually like endangered or close to endangered. So they just CGI'd over the puffins that were naturally there and just made them porgs.
Because it would have been harder.
If that's the case, if that is real, that's actually extremely creative and kind of awesome, I think.
Yeah. I didn't know about. I'll look into.
I mean,
obviously, I need to confirm that.
I mean,
so everyone listening,
from a director like this, I would believe it.
Yeah. Honestly, I just liked it because it gave Chewie some fun stuff to do.
Yeah, and it's like you can do worse because it's like, okay, people are comparing it to...
They were cute, too.
They're cute. I thought they were really cute, but they weren't, like, oversaturated. And, like, a lot of people are comparing it to, like, well, at least the Ewoks served a purpose in the story. And it's like, yeah, but that purpose was really stupid. Like, that is... I'm sorry.
I watched the Empire befuddled by teddy bears.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That is just so... I will never not think that is dumb. I can still let it slide because I overall enjoy that movie. Yeah. But it is dumb. It's like... You know, the porgs, they're just... I mean, they're essentially like a product placement almost. To sell the porgs.
Well, that's what people get uncomfortable about.
But it's like... It's so... Like, compared to a lot of movies...
I'm going to buy a porg.
I might buy a porg Funko.
I got 3 kids. They're getting a porg.
But they are, like... You know, they're only on screen... Like, typically... If it's on the island and it's more often than not involving Chewie. And then they don't show up for like an hour until they're on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, they just sort of are nesting in there.
And that whole sequence is like kind of when the Millennium Falcon comes in, the scene kind of has a funner tone to it, more energetic tone. It's not quite. It hasn't quite got to the dread yet of that of what was going on. So again, like when they're
humor properly placed.
Yeah, the humor. I mean, it's never necessary. But it's never felt like, oh, this just ruined the scene for me. Because, like, I mean, I like Doctor Strange a lot, but I thought that had a couple moments that a joke kind of ruined a great moment.
The only one for me, I would say, that comes close is I really don't like the Luke shoulder wipe.
That's corny.
Because it's outdated now.
Yeah.
He's an old guy, but, like, that's, like, really outdated. And, two, it's something that's really of our world. Like, I'm not saying they need to make up I need a whole novelization of how they made up the gestures of the Star Wars universe.
Like, you know.
Or something. I'm not asking for that, but I feel like that we didn't need that. And I didn't like it, really.
No, it's
the only one that I really
It felt like an old, like, it felt like a Mark Hamill, like...
Yeah, the kids still do this, right? Like, no, they don't.
That's why I kind of give it a pass a little bit. Yeah. Just because, like, old dudes do stuff like that.
We've had three genres of mainstream rap since then. Yeah. Like, it's like, whoa. You know, that's
thinking of the humor, the other part that did get a decent chuckle out of me is when Luke is fucking with Rey.
Yeah.
And that too, like, not only did that kind of feel in character for Luke, like, just having, but you could also see it on his face, because, like, she puts her hand out and he's like, I'm gonna troll.
Yeah.
And the scene hadn't gotten dramatic yet, so it was fine. That's the big.
That's a good observation.
The bit that is, to me, the critical difference between the humor in this movie and the humor in the Marvel movie is that they don't let it be right after a big dramatic thing happens.
Well, it's funny because you're mentioning something that's making me think about it's weird now. We have carryover criticisms. like we have criticisms, like we have loadouts of criticisms ready.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, that was a joke. Okay, let's see what I have to criticize jokes about. Well, it's too much like a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Because we've criticized that for the last 4 Marvel movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to continue to.
Yeah, you got that side. Yep.
Yeah.
Pull
It's
this criticism.
it's
Yep,
it's
check
weird.
mark,
It's
check
a weird
mark.
version of parroting.
It's,
You know, it's like we take the bits and bobs we remember that someone said about some other movie that kind of sort of reminded us in some off way that it was like that. So okay,
The
there you
age of
go.
information, man.
Mhm.
well, and it pisses me off that this is only now in like the last 2 years becoming an issue for a lot of people. Because I've been saying this shit since the first Avengers movie, is that Marvel has a tone problem big time. Ever since Disney took over, Marvel has a tone problem. And it's only now people are realizing
Well,
it.
like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a pretty like big boiling point because that
Yeah.
movie's all like joke undercutting, like
Thor
dramatic
Ragnarok as
moment.
well.
Thor Ragnarok, I thought did it
it's
a little worse.
continuation more.
I
But-
love Thor Ragnarok.
But really,
Ah.
I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy kicked the door down though earlier this year with that, and I think
Yeah.
that's where the criticism really, like I said, it hit that boiling point. Thor Ragnarok didn't help, but they already had that in the bag. You know what I mean? By
Yeah.
the time that was already happening, so
Yeah, so but I've been saying this since the first Avengers movie that they need to. It's not that you can't have humor; it's just you got to know where to put it.
it has to flow.
It has to
somehow,
flow
feel
and
natural.
And that's part of the reason I didn't like the first Avengers is because the humor was just killing so many scenes. For
Honestly, it's just a Transformers movie with good characters. I hate to say that, but like the first Avengers.
Oh God, yeah.
It's a Transformers movie with good characters.
It's
in a lot of
yeah.
ways anyway. It's
It
similar
no,
to
it
the
totally
movie,
is.
Like
good characters are important though.
exactly, good characters go a long way.
I'll rein these
Yeah,
guys
pull
in.
us back into
I'll
Star
rein
Wars.
these guys. I've never heard them actually speak this way before. So
Come at me, internet.
Actually-
GH Carlo
You
on Twitter.
you two
Come at
ramble.
me.
I gotta use the worst one.
Obviously, though, that seems to be the big name of the game with Last Jedi after it's come out is just kind of the overwhelming like fan criticism. You know, a lot of people wanting it to be an info dump, a lot of people wanting a lot more action or whatever it was, just not being satisfied with this film. But you know, I think that, like I said, like one of the big things is the stuff with Snoke, the humor that we've talked about. I know another thing too that a lot of people were disappointed they didn't get was about Rey's parentage. Now, I for one, I really like the answer that we got.
Yeah. No, I had my own fan theories, but I also I remember thinking in the back of my mind, like if they went with the twist, again, we shouldn't even be calling it twist. If it just turned out her parents are nobody, that would almost be the smartest decision. But
Yeah.
I didn't give Disney enough credit.
Besides, and two, I like that way better. than
Yes,
her being a
Eddie,
Kenobi.
it's
It's like,
only
what
a
is this?
twist because everyone talked about it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's
That's
like,
what I mean.
I don't like the idea that Star Wars is some fucking like Hatfields versus McCoys in space.
Yeah.
Where you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
like that. Anybody could be a Jedi. Like the people that think that like it's only a Skywalker can be a Jedi. Like no, like just like Luke was kind of saying about the Jedi's hubris. Like that is arrogance as well.
Yeah.
Like and I didn't even know that was a thing that people thought before now. That like what only like 5 families can be Jedi or something.
Yeah.
It's such a limiting idea that makes no sense.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that for people like to go like, okay, how is that interesting at all? That it's like, oh, it's just a Kenobi versus a Skywalker at the end of the day. It makes them better foils of each other as well. That he comes from this prestige and the Skywalkers and like Luke Skywalker, like he saved the galaxy. This man becomes a villain. And that someone who kind of came from nothing. The parents were not good people. You know what I mean? But it sounds like if what Kylo says is true, that there are people that were drunks, sold her, and now are in a unmarked pauper's grave in Jakku, is literally from the opposite end of everything that Kylo is.
I love that they open it up. I think they give clarity though when he asks her, "You know it."
And
she
but
says,
but he could be feeding on her own doubt.
Exactly. That's
there's some cool implications.
That's a lot of stuff with this movie that
Yeah.
I'm worried. I feel like was written into where Rian Johnson obviously is smart enough. He had to have known that a lot of people were going to react volatile to these plot points. And
well, I don't know.
But he. I feel like he wrote them in a way where it's like if Disney is like, okay, we gotta get the fans back. Okay, write everything so that we can just retcon it. And because it is like that, well, as of right now, I think Rian Johnson said that as of right now, that is the answer. Her parents were nobody. That is the answer.
I think they clearly said that with the boy at the end too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, well,
it's a statement.
Yeah, it's a statement, and it's also, but again, Rey does admit it, but it's like you said, Kylo's feeding that. It's like he's feeding into her fear until she just says it, and so it's like
classic like the really manipulative boyfriend. Like that scene there, you
know
what I mean?
Your parents are nobody.
Yeah. Well, he does that classic thing of where he's like, yeah, you're nothing, you're nobody, but to me. He does that exact thing. Like, that's like abusive, manipulative boyfriend 101 type shit.
Exactly. Oh, God. It's such a great moment. And then also, and again, one of the themes of the movie is, like, duality and balance and, like, the parentage. One comes from greatness and the other comes from nothing. And also, like, because I fear that they are going to make a twist that they're siblings or some dumb shit.
I think that's such a weird fan desire too. Yeah. Like for me, I love fandoms, right? And I love universes because you think of yourself maybe even in the context of it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you want to be whatever that thing is or be a part of it somehow. Like where would I fit into this? I think that's an idea that we all entertain with these universes. So why do we want this really weird, dumb, limiting idea that not anybody could be a Jedi? Like why would you want that? You know what I mean?
I think
if you loved Star Wars and loved Jedi.
I'll play the devil's advocate a little bit. Now I will say though, George Lucas's original intention was always to have a nine film.
In the obscure history.
And Kylo Ren being Han and he is Skywalker Solo, that I could see, and I probably wouldn't actually get that upset if Rey ended up being someone important. You find out in the final film, like this, she was
Rey the whole time.
Like
look how important she is.
Yeah, look how important she is. How it connects, because it's going to expand further beyond that.
Yeah.
And like whether this statement is for like solely for Rey's character, it's not. It's also for the idea that Jedi can be everyone. It's to open up the expansion of the universe for future films.
Yeah. Well, and it also like it just kind of one of the subtext of it is just you don't have to come from importance, but you can become bigger than your origins, but they are obviously hinting at there's a connection. There's kind of a connection between Kylo and Rey, but I think that just goes with the balance. Like Snoke says that there's always light and there's equal levels.
I don't think it wouldn't have mattered who rose. Yeah, they would be connected. They would have to come into conflict. Doesn't matter if it's Rey or Ben Kenobi's illegitimate child. That everyone wants so fucking bad.
Yeah, and I'm
just means he's a worse Jedi now.
I'm terrified that Disney is going to go that route if the fans keep up with
their hate. But I'm just saying. To me, if they wrapped up the 9-film Skywalker saga in a way where Rey ends up being connected, it's not gonna drag. I'm gonna be like, okay, that makes sense. It's all these 9 films are connected in that way.
I find that Ben for me is definitely enough connection, and then having the old characters back.
Totally.
And
I think it would be a much more bold statement of, like we've said before, and like you've said just now, like going forward. You know what I mean? What does this mean for Star Wars now, going into the future? I think that it's a bold statement to keep it that her parents were nothing. Like I said, I love that more. Yeah. Like I said, if it would have come out that she was Mace Windu's love child, I would not have been happy.
Palpatine's daughter is one I kept hearing about.
Palpatine's daughter.
What in the fuck?
It's like they've got a wheel or like a dartboard or something that they're spinning, and
it's like which
famous just whatever
piece of shit can I?
My fan theory originally was that Luke created her, wasn't her dad, but kind of like how the Emperor created Vader.
Yoda is her great grandfather.
Oh god. But that was my fan theory.
She was pure Force energy, like Anakin, like the Virgin Force birth.
Yeah, and exactly. Yeah, and it was that was my fan theory because I was like if I felt like I had arguments for it, and I was also thinking in the context. Well, they're probably gonna make it. She's connected to somebody important. But,
it's like the
but I
midichlorians
love the
still
way
kinda
they
perpetuating its way
I love the
around.
way they change it where she's nobody, but she's still extremely powerful
Yeah.
because she is Kylo's equal.
Yeah.
You know, so
Because she just
that's
happens to be the
I'm
one
so
with the
much more.
Force.
That's so much better than what I.
Yeah.
It's making
Thought up
the
of.
Force be a character.
Yeah.
No,
More
totally.
more so than
Like
it
there's
ever has
intent. Like what the Force is doing, it has intent.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I think that it's funny because like we've talked about this like off the show a little bit, but a lot of people bring up the Legend of Korra or like
Yeah.
Avatar in
Yeah.
general, as far as like kind of like with this new series, like kind of has a lot of similarities to, especially character wise, and the story choices that they've made.
Yeah.
And I think that it's interesting because it's like that's the same thing as the fucking Avatar. The Avatar
Yeah.
isn't from some royal Avatar family.
They come from
it could
nothing.
be any kid. It
Yeah.
could be any kid in any of these kingdoms. Like it doesn't matter where he came from. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be the king's son. Your dad didn't have to be Darth Vader. You know what I mean? You just are born the Avatar.
Yeah.
And I think is a lot more interesting, and it honestly makes the universe feel like a universe. Because if fans got what they wanted,
It's more
the Star Wars
diversity.
universe would be so small. It would
Yeah.
just feel like there's 5 families, like I said,
Yep.
and that's it.
Yeah,
and that's
You know?
what,
yeah.
and I thought that's all we were gonna get,
Mhm.
but you know, this movie, at least for now, breathes new life into it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, opens up it basically tells everyone, hey, there's more things out there.
Mhm.
So you know, and it, like I said, I'm scared of what's gonna come after this, what episode 9 is gonna be, because like I can tell that the script was written in a way where like, you know, they can make changes. I'm sure I'm betting that was a Disney thing. They were like,
It's got open endies.
you gotta leave enough of a loophole to where we can change it if
break glass in case of fan riot.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
And autistic screeching. Oh god.
Oh man,
But-
man, this has been a long, deep dive of The Last Jedi. I don't even know how long we've been sitting here at this point.
How long is this?
It's almost 2 hours.
Almost 2 hours.
God.
Wow.
It's our longest
There's
podcast,
still
but
there's
hey,
still
it's
so
also-
much to talk about.
Yeah, there's still so much to talk about. Maybe we'll bring you on for more, Nelson.
Yeah, we definitely have to have you on.
It's our first
again.
time with a guest, so it makes
Yeah.
sense why we'd go longer.
So-
we actually haven't talked in a long time.
Well, no, it's been a couple months since I last saw you, and then
Yeah.
I saw Gio at that amazing movie Justice League.
Yeah, that was
so much.
Honestly,
That's-
I'm really glad that you were there.
that
It was great
movie
to
that
watch
movie was
with
clearly
everyone,
so
for
much
sure.
better than The Last Jedi.
According to Rotten Tomatoes, because it's very accurate, Rotten Tomatoes. Remember that forever. But I think that on the show, as you know, Nelson, we do like to give like our kind of final summaries and grade for the film. So if you'd like to, you can give a grade for it as well. We go with the A through F scale like school.
Okay, the A through. Okay, so trying to think how.
If you just want to get your overall thoughts and then just kind of give me a grade.
Well, overall, like I can't emphasize enough that I really love this movie. You know, it's got focus issues. It's got issues with editing. But it's all in service of something bigger, more ambitious, more unique. There's great character arcs. There's great closure for certain characters. It for now brings up the possibility of new things to come. And it's just exciting. It's a movie that just like it just grabs you. At least me, it just like grabs me, and it just like won't let go in a good way. And you know, it's just I get so wrapped up in this stuff. Like I'll say it like as I think this might be my second favorite Star Wars movie. I'm not saying it's the second best. I'm just saying what it did for me. It did so well. So I guess on your A through F letter scale, I guess mine would be what would it be? A minus, I guess, a 9 out of 10. Cause this movie felt like it was a true, like Force Awakens. This Christmas is magical right now because we have this movie. Cause it's just like especially when I just saw it again today. I was thinking, I just can't believe I'm watching this movie right now. Like, and the things it's doing, it's so wonderful.
It's so wonderful.
It's such a wonderful movie, and I can't recommend it enough. And I hope to God that it ages like Empire did, where after a while people realize that it's kind of a brilliant movie in spite of its flaws. So yeah, no, it's great. Can't praise it enough, really.
I'm just gonna echo off of that. Yeah, this is a movie that I was slightly conflicted with when I walked out the first viewing. Though I knew it was great, I just didn't know how I enjoyed it, my level of enjoyment. But upon second viewing, picking up on all the subtleties and all the subtext, some of the subtext, I didn't pick up on all of it. But there's just so much depth in this film that Rian Johnson brought to it in a screenplay, and it really is a filmmaker's movie, and it's beautiful to the eyes as well. It's just such a great experience to go out to a movie and see this and have that nostalgia, but also have that fresh take on the series. This is just a franchise that I've loved my entire life. Luke Skywalker is someone that I've looked up to my entire life. And seeing him go out was hard at first, but God, just you can't really ask for a better ending for a character than that. And this movie really hits me really, really, really hard emotionally. But yeah, just overall, I definitely can acknowledge, I can see that this film does have its flaws. Every movie has its flaws, besides maybe, I don't know, There Will Be Blood. But I can look past a lot of these things because all of the other stuff rises higher than what I would expect a film to do. And for that, it just really brings it up for me. I don't know, right now I'm sitting at an A. I think that this movie just warrants rewatches.
Oh, totally.
Before I really settle on a possible A+, regardless of those simple flaws that movies have. So yeah, that's where I'm sitting at with it. Overall, I couldn't have asked for a better Star Wars film.
So obviously a lot of positivity here at Back to the Feature, and I'm really going to echo that as well. In an era of movies where we're seeing so much convention and we're seeing movies that feel like they write themselves while you're watching them, it is so refreshing to have a movie that takes so many things, turns them on their ear, and has so many interesting characters that you want to find out more about. You want to watch them grow. Whenever these things, even when things happen that isn't what you planned or what you wanted, they still manage to choose these paths for these characters that are interesting and engaging and makes you wonder and want to watch that next film and continue this journey, and also let these characters stand on their own in their own trilogy. This movie, wipes the slate clean for Star Wars in a great way. And I said it earlier in the podcast, this is the movie that we needed for Star Wars. Not the movie that everybody wanted or sat there and thought they had already written in their head. This is what the franchise needs right now going forward, especially if we're going to get one every year. We need to do this right now. And it has, like I said, for me, it made me love Luke Skywalker in a way I've never loved him before. I have always enjoyed Luke in general, and there's always cool things, but man, this changed the way I looked at this character that's been around for decades. That is an achievement, I think, for any film, and especially one that's as high profile and as close to so many people as Star Wars. This is, as John said earlier, is a movie that bears rewatching. I think that a lot of people, coming out of it, it's you're almost in shock. You weren't expecting these things, and you're in cinematic shock. And you need to take a moment and reflect and think about this film because there's so many layers to it. I think layers that not even any of us in this room have uncovered quite yet. And I think that it's going to be a movie that people are going to talk about and debate, and I think it's going to just grow and grow and grow as it goes. So right now, I'm going to give an A to The Last Jedi, but I honestly believe that over time it really could become an A+ and be one of the best, Star Wars films, if not the best Star Wars film in a lot of ways. It has flaws. It definitely doesn't. We've gone over them, but at the end of the day, the balance is much more tipped to the light side. So, guys, that's been our podcast today. You can find us on our Twitter at BacktoFeature. You can find us on our Facebook as well at /BacktoFeature. I've been Giovanni Carlo.
And I'm John Vanderloo.
And I'm Nelson Holo.
And if they want to reach you, Nelson, where can they reach you?
Just look me up on Facebook or Twitter. Just type in my Star Wars name. Just type in the most Star Wars name you've heard in real life, and you'll find me.
All right, guys, and we'll see you next time.